The ascendant doesn't oppose the Uranus, it's a little too wide. It just gets to Pluto. And instead, Pluto's sitting there not aspecting anything, but it's except the ascendant. It's prominently, accidentally dignified because it's about relationships, but his ability to see the depth in relationship and what's wrong. He would hit anything that would be wrong would hit the nerve in him right away. Boom, like a gong. But anybody else who has something wrong, he would walk right into it with the Scorpio ascendant, and he'd know it well before he could express it to someone. And they'd have sessions come to see him, and it'd take some time. Eventually, he might be able to express some of it. Its identity is ruled by the Mars in the 11th house in the Libra. So that Mars of trying to prove things, trying to do things, or having other people make so many demands on his time, and he feels like, I made a commitment, I have to see this person, I have to see that person, I have to do that. It would drain all his energy. He would have trouble seeing everybody equally, properly. Okay, let's look at the midheaven. Now it's midheavens in Leo. If I'm going to have a career, I got to be the best at my career. If I'm going to be teaching, I'm going to be showing, I'm going to be known for what my thing is. I'm going to have my name on it. If I'm going to have a career, if I'm going to have a business, I'm going to have my name on it. Well, certainly his therapy stayed with his name on it. His name became a special word, it's just Freudian. Like it went from a name to being an established word that meant things. Now, this midheaven, it's having to be best. It's the Leo. It's wanting to be proud, having to be playful, having to be noticed, having to do noble and best things for one's career, to be proud of what one's doing. So he was very proud of his position. But he would certainly, any threatened, so his reactions, if someone attacks what he's doing, he would take offense at it very quickly. He would be proud that how could someone did not accept what I'm saying. And there would be battles that come up across that. So the need to be, this midheaven, though, affects his career. It's ruled by the sun. It's Leo, it's fixed, it's ruled by the sun in the 7th house in Taurus. If the counselor, I have to be known as the counselor. I am known for how I react and respond to other people. But there's a cost because the Uranus squares that midheaven too. So my status, I'm known for this. It squares the sextiles to Saturn. That's nice. It trines to Venus. That's all nice. But there's squares to Uranus, the Sun, and to Mercury. So the establishment doesn't always reinforce him. It's like his relationships and his ability to respond makes tremendous demands on him living up and getting the respect and being admired the way he needed to be. Certainly the work he did grew in respect as after he died. But there were power struggles around maintaining status and career and standing up for oneself and being responsible. I think there were many time demands that are normally, if he's doing something different, they would make so many other. He'd want to be best at anything he did. He'd want to have the status. He'd want to be the lecturer. He'd want to present the paper. He would be able to have that. But then he's really needs to get the response of how people react to it. Okay, I'm getting close to the end of what I can do. We got one more to do here. Generally, your attention span for doing consultation, usually 2.5 hours max. And once you take a break, you walk away, whatever you didn't do, you come back at another time. And you can do it in stages rather than having to stay at all. I'm just trying to hold steady to present this to you as best I can in ways that you can see how I'm making the connection and how I'm saying and making the associations to these things. And I'm doing it I'm being very clinical and structured and defined. This is like scales in music. And the more charts you do, the more you're able to do this. See, I probably did 5,000 to 10,000 charts before computers were around. So some of this is, and I've taught it consistently for 50 years. So these things are second nature to me. And I'm able to do this. When you're first running across it, well, you wouldn't be this far if you didn't like it. So you just have to make it yours. Be used to get comfort. This is the boat that travels across the ocean, the meaning of the planets, signs, houses, all these things, that's the ocean. This is the boat that navigates you to understand the nature of a person, the DNA of a person, the matrix that person is going to live in. The some amount of cultural impressions and how the soul is interacting with it, it's all in here. So his descendant, it's conjunct the sun and conjunct Pluto. No other aspects to it. It's not squaring anything. It's conjunct the sun. So the power of relationships is really important. Power of relationships and partnerships and marriage is far stronger than the individuality, which is Scorpio. But the Scorpio sun is so judgmental, it's tied into this. What's fair, what's not. So how's the independent person going to, this is a funny puzzle. He's so independent in his nature, but in his circumstances needs relationships. Needs people to be working with him and reacting with him. Now, the Pluto in the 6th house conjuncts the descendant, that there's powerful confrontation, like nothing's easy here. His ability to break through and break through in relating and seeing what's wrong or what's right or what's happening with someone, he would see where blocks or problems would be immediately. That's the Pluto there. It would intimidate people. So people would be almost scared of talking to him because he might see something sexual in what they're doing. Yet that was the source of his being able to take that information and reach the nerve of someone to hit nerves that were blocked, to heal it, to try and create alternative behaviors. So it's interesting, both Jung and Freud have their sun in the 7th house, natural counselors. But Freud had Neptune moon. He had his confusion with the family. Jung had, I'll just pull it here just for a second. Here. Okay, so let's try to make it bigger for a second. Okay, so they both had their sun in the 7th house. They both had their sun in close proximity to Uranus in the 7th house, to radical new ways of seeing relationships. But Jung had his sun squared by Neptune. There were a lot more confusions and innuendos and mysteries and puzzles to Jung. Whereas they're much more, Freud's puzzles were in complexes and guilt with the past, with mom. And where did they come from? But they had certain things. Jung had Pluto, Venus conjunct in Taurus, confrontations around mom and feelings. Pluto is not conjunct any, but it's in Taurus, but close to Venus in the 6th house for Freud. So there's different things. They both had Mars in the 11th house of reaching out and trying to prove a point. They both had most planets setting. There's certain things very similar when you start comparing, but the Mars and Jung's Mars in 7th house was in Sagittarius and reaching out to travel to explain understandings to other people. So he had a more expansive way of reaching people, of traveling, of reaching different cultures. But Freud, even though his Mars was in 11th house, it's in Libra, it wanted appreciation, but he had Saturn squaring different things. He worked really hard to create his peer group and to affect the people working in the same fields as him so they could see the value of how he saw things. Now, some people would see that and really respect him. Some people would be intimidated and really hate him. And each one he would react to. So, okay, the point in this is we haven't defined someone. We've just used the chart and gone through the steps and got a little bit more familiar. And I've just made some associations to Freud based on little pieces of things that I know. As best I'm not an expert on him, but it allowed us to go into some of the, just taking the simple idea of Freudian concepts out of its complex, and you can see how it would work in Freud, and you can see the father complexes and the more mystical sides with the Neptune in Jung. So, but with Freud being the Taurus and Jung having Taurus moon, there was a natural connection for Jung to study from Freud, but it didn't come the other way around. Okay, anyways, I'm not going to stay here. This is a whole nother lecture, but there's The more you do, the more have these different ones to compare from. You start seeing different people, you start tuning in a little bit better and better. And we've gone, this is our 12th class, our final one of this. It would be easy to spend a year to just keep going, taking people and going through it. You'll do it in your own life. And every now and then, sometimes you just look and you're curious at what you're going to see. But really, anytime you see there's someone you like or someone you're really interested in, it's worth taking the time to do the steps and get all the things done to get the insight deep. If you're going to do someone's biography or work the family tree, wow, this is incredibly valuable. But you have to take the time to work through the steps to really be informed, to know what you're talking about. Then we can put it into timings, into when things happen. So when you're born, you're your pure potential, everything you can be. It's in you, in your genes, in your DNA, in your matrix. It's already there. How much you make happen, how much actually gets actualized in your life will depend on how things will work from there on in your life after you're born. So every day after you're born, it's a little more effort to be yourself. You're further away from you where you started. We're going to get more into this next time. But thank you. It's been a good class. And next week, we'll start with it's a whole different frequency of starting with timings, understanding it. This is really getting to know the depth of astrology. Once you know how to interpret a natal chart, every other area becomes easily lucid and easily applicable. Not a problem. It's much more fun to study the rest of the stuff than it is to get through this initial, get experienced and competent in this initial foundations. But now that you've done it, you know this as deeply as any astrologer would. You just have to do charts and get your confidence up around it, get your experience level up around it. Okay, thank you. And I'll see you next week for the beginning of transits. Okay, bye.